Hallo en welkom aan al die luisteraars en kykers, weer eens by 'n Suidlanders geselsprogram saam met my en Simon Roche. En ja, ek bedoel, ek het nou net so 2 ure terug nogal 'n skokkende video gesien van 'n ou wat wat geclaim het. Ek dink Simon gaan ons mooi kan vertel. Ek kan nie eers die name daarvan onthou nie. Dit is soos hy so goed soos die Mohammedan se Messiah wat kom. En dit het my nogal geskok. Ek weet nie of Simon dalk miskien 'n bietjie daaroor gaan praat vanaand of nie, maar ja, dit was nogal nou met die Pope dood is en alles wat aan die gang is. Maar ek gaan dit liewer oorgee aan ons Suidlanders expert wat gaan met oor hierdie tipe dinge. En dit is natuurlik Simon Roche. Welkom Simon. Ek hoop dinge gaan goed jou kant.
Ja, so half en half. I didn't sleep last night. I spent the night worrying about this Russian tour that we had hoped to do. I was meant to get the new passport, within 3 weeks, 2 weeks to 3 weeks. And I was on top of the world about it because the service at the Department of Home Affairs was so good. Yes, it was absolutely fantastic. And then it didn't come after 2 weeks. The woman said, if you're lucky, it'll be 2 weeks. So, okay, fine. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and today is 6 weeks full. So by last night, I was in an absolute state, and I was figuring out how I was going to pay back the money, the sponsorship, and, I was going to take vengeance. And be spiteful as only I can be spiteful. Do a series of videos just smashing, getting stuck into them. And there's no doubt in my mind that the process was slowed just for me because people who applied for passports subsequent to me received them within the 2 to 3 week period.
Yeah.
Now, I live about 20 k's into the Bamboesberge outside Hofmeyer in the Eastern Cape. So it's about 90 k's to Cradock, and I went through there 4 times to follow up on this blasted thing. And so I spent the whole of this morning figuring out what I was going to say in this interview, how I was going to start this process of exacting bloody vengeance. And I even phoned Mr. Miller this afternoon to say, look, this tour is not happening. We can't let it drag on forever. And he didn't answer. And I phoned Home Affairs. I managed to get a cell phone number. No answer there too. And then I was dealing with you and Arnold. And lo and behold, I get a call from this woman. And she says to me, really sweet, terrific woman. Honestly, Home Affairs it's like night and day compared to what it was. And she said, you're not going to believe it. I said, what? I thought she was going to tell me that they've removed me from the system because every time I've been there, these people get these expressions on their faces of absolute bewilderment, completely puzzled. They just can't make sense of the tracking of my passport. I thought, right, that's it. Oh, well, what can you do? She said, meneer, jou paspoort is hier.
Hey.
Ek kan net sy nommer vir jou gee. Want hy het die nommer nodig om die vliegtuigkaartjie te bespreek.
Ja.
Yeah. So, I'm going to pick up the passport tomorrow. Now I've got nothing to say to you. I just feel thick from taking blooming sleeping tablets, melatonin tablets throughout the night. I took 4 of them just to try and get an hour and a half sleep. I was in such a state about this blasted thing. So I'm like a doffel today. And that's why I say, number 1, I've lost the theme that I wanted to discuss today. And number 2, I'm slightly brain dead. So I think, Marius, let's just have a chit-chat, if you don't mind, about the Mahdi and about a couple of other things.
Ja, ek dink, Simon, ek gaan nou nie vir jou voorskryf hoe jy dit moet doen nie, maar ek is 'n leek as dit gekom het by dit, as ek en jy nie vroeër 'n bietjie daaroor gesels het nie, so ek geen idee gehad het van wat is die Mahdi, hoe glo hulle nie, wie is dit en wat is dit vir hulle nie, en dan nou hierdie ou wat half nou hierdie video gemaak het en gesê het, luister hier, maar die Christene moet vir my luister, die ander gelowe moet almal vir my luister, want my voorvaders het almal betrekking tot en met Jesus en tot en met Mohammed en tot en met Allah en die hele storie. So ek dink dit gaan lekker wees om dalk jou opbreek van dit te hoor. Ek dink nie ons baie mense wat presies eintlik weet wat dit is nie, of hoe dit in mekaar steek, of hoe die mense glo nie.
Okay, so the long and the short of it is that in the deserts of Saudi Arabia, 1400 years ago, there lived a man called Muhammad, the prophet, and he, in a very, very, very short span of time, convinced the pagans of that area to adopt this new religion called Islam. He supposedly had kind of inspirations, and I think the angel Gabriel was supposed to have inspired a lot of what he said. So he comes up with all of this stuff, and it turns into the Quran, although it was only written all put together a little bit later. But the key dates in Islam are 620 and 632 in our calendar. Right, so 1400 years ago, he has this new religion. Everybody, there were lots of attacks on him. They tried to kill him. He had to run away. But within a short span of epic dramas, he gets this religion going, and it spreads eastward and westward all across North Africa, wipes out all of the Christian communities. Saint Augustine, for instance, was from North Africa, the great Saint Augustine. So the Syrian Christians, Lebanese Christians, Egyptian, the Copts, the Coptic Christians, the Libyans, Tunisian, Simon of Cyrene, who carried the cross of Jesus Christ, was from Libya. And so this religion is spread at the point of the sword. This is a well understood thing. You had to convert or die. Klar.
Sure.
So they had relative success. It's a bit of a difficult choice, that one. And when the Prophet Muhammad died, he married a girl when she was 8 years old, and she eventually got married, and the religion then split into two when he died, because the Shias, Shiat Ali, when you hear Americans talk about Shia or Shiite, the correct term is Shiat Ali. Shiat can't be translated very easily. It means something like friends of, chommies, disciples, supporters, teammates, fellow gang members. I don't mean to insult Islam, but I've heard it described that way on a very, very highbrow, high-level BBC Radio 4 podcast, where this woman, this Muslim woman, and her friend were trying to carry this word over, and they were desperately grasping for every kind of synonym they could find. So the chommies of Ali is Shia Islam. And what that is all about is that most of Islam voted for a guy to follow on as Muhammad's successor. But these other guys said, no, it should have been Muhammad's daughter's husband, Ali. And so they've continued to be known as the friends of Ali, or the supporters of Ali, or the disciples of Ali, right all the way through. Right. On his deathbed, Muhammad supposedly prophesied that there would be 12 imams, so almost like preachers that would follow him. And then from the last imam, there would be another 12 guys. And that the people who believe in all of that are called 12 Shias. So it's a sect of Shia. It's just a sect of Shia, and Shia is only about 10% of all of Islam around the world. But it's still very, very, very important. The prophecy was that the last of these 24 guys, so the last of the 12, following the 12, Muhammad al-Mahdi, that he would die, and then he would be, and again, I don't want to offend Muslims. It's not that I'm in love with Islam, but you don't talk about other people's business and get it all messed up, That's just amateurish. So I'm going to choose my words as best I can. They believe that the 12th of those guys would return in, I'm going to use the word reincarnation, right at the end. At the same time as we believe that the true Messiah will come for a second time, and the Jews believe that the two Messiahs, they believe in two Messiahs, will come. They believe in Messiah ben Yosef and Moshiach ben David. And ben Yosef is probably going to die, and then ben David will sit in the temple, and he'll rule the world through Judaism. So that point in time, many people believe to be now. And you and I have had many conversations in which I've described to you how the timeline works. We had the Star of David of Jacob last year and various other astronomical phenomena. So there are a lot of people all around the world who are kind of thinking now's the big time. And as far as the Jews are concerned, they have to force now to be the big time, the big moment, the moment of the book of Revelation, the moment of the book of Ezekiel, chapters 37, 38, 39, the final cataclysm, if you like. Okay. The Mahdi returns and he sort of saves the world. And to cut a long story short, the Mahdi has supposedly appeared. And it's interesting to me that he would be announced, that today is Thursday. He was revealed yesterday, and I think he appeared a couple of days before, basically a day or two after Pope Francis's passing.
Yeah.
Immediately after Easter. Now, there's some people who don't like the word Easter and what have you, but they must just be patient. I have to speak in terms that the majority can understand. It's only fair. Unusually, this year, a very strange calendar phenomenon occurred. The calendar of Orthodox Christianity, of Judaism, and the Roman Catholic calendar, the calendar that you and I use. Yeah. It comes from Pope Gregory the Great. It's the Roman Catholic calendar. That's what the Jews call it. That's what the Muslims call it. That's what the Orthodox call it. Although I'm sure some Protestant listeners would prefer not to use that name. But that's what it is. It's the calendar that the Pope came up with. They intersected over this past weekend. Highly, highly, highly unusual. Because our calendar, the Western calendar, the one that the Pope came up with, is based on the 365 and a quarter days, with 28 days in February and then leap years every 4 years. The Jewish calendar is lunisolar, so every, I think it's 13 years, they throw in an extra month. Or no, I'm wrong. I think it's 7 times in 19 years. I forget. And the Muslim calendar is purely lunar. Okay. It works only by the moon. Now, an interesting phenomenon is that they worship the god Allah. That is a contraction of 2 words, al-ilah. Al-ilah means the moon. So Islam is what's known as a syncretic religion. You take a religion and you say, you've got a jolly good religion here, but it's got some errors, we'll fix it for you. So the Allah, the god Allah, is the moon god. Now, if you said that to some Muslims, they'd be apoplectic and they'd threaten you with cutting off your head and say that it's blasphemy and it's heresy and it's what have you. But that is a simple matter of language. It's not up for dispute. It's not maybe I'm right, maybe you're right, you've got feelings, I've got feelings. The simple fact is that it's a contraction of 2 words. This is well recorded. Al-ilah, the moon. And, of course, the crescent moon remains the symbol of Islam to this day. And in many places in the world of Islam, what they call the world of peace, you will find Muslim, why can't I think of the word? Muslim churches. What's the word? Where
Mosques.
There's a crescent moon. Bigger part.
Mosques.
Mosque, of course.
Yeah.
You will find on the dome of the mosque a little standard at the top, which is a crescent above a cross, symbolizing how they thrashed us in the Crusades, and we ended up running away with our tails between our legs, and they've ruled over that region ever since then. That's just an interesting side note. It's that is what that symbol means. If you ever see it in Lenasia or Chatsworth or Phoenix, when you're driving down to Amanzimtoti for a swim at Christmas time. So this guy has been announced. And to me, it's just the most peculiar thing that it would come a couple of days after the passing of Pope Francis, after a highly unusual calendrical event, namely the intersection of Pesach and Orthodox Easter and Western Easter. And also, in the only Passover ever, the only Passover week, where in which the rabbis have been able to say, we believe that this is the Passover of the appearance of the Messiah. Now, I'm not linking the Mahdi to that. I'm just saying, I'm quite certain he's not the Messiah. Please don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that this was a curious time. It was a very peculiar time when many things intersected. And when for the first time ever the rabbi said, we believe that this is the Passover of the Messiah because of the Parashah Miketz. I've mentioned this before. It's a portion in the Bible that deals with the end times. And at the end of it, it has like a little code relating to the year 2000. Interviews with you, Marius, in which I've explained about the Star of Jacob and so on and so forth. And it will take 9 hours to cover everything that we've already covered, so I'm not going to do any more. It's just ever so peculiar. Now I'll chat briefly about the Pope, if that's okay with you, or if you've got a comment, Marius, I'm going to give you a second.
Ja, net interessant hierdie video wat ek nou gesien het van hierdie ons kan miskien dalk die YouTube link net by ons YouTube sit om die volle 12 minute te kyk wat hierdie ou hom nou self announce het en wat hy alles daar kwytraak in daai video, maar hy gebruik die doodgaan van die Pope oor hierdie Easter tyd, Paasfeestyd, gebruik hy en hy sê dit is absoluut 'n miracle van God af. Dit is 'n wonderwerk en dit het sy aankondiging aangehits dat hy dit nou vir die wêreld moet vertel. As dit nie vir daai miracle was wat gebeur het nie, dan sou hy dalk 2 keer gaan gedink het om homself aan te kondig, maar hy sien dit as die miracle en hy sien dit as die ding wat gemaak het dat hy homself moes aankondig en ja, hy sê ook alle Christene, alle Jode, alle Moslems, almal gaan vir hom moet luister want hy is die een. Maar ja, nee, dis baie interessant, maar kom ons gaan oor na die Pope toe, Simon.
Well, the two things are perhaps connected, as you say. Nostradamus. Now, I don't expect anybody to believe in Nostradamus. I don't follow Nostradamus myself. But some of the things that he's mentioned are quite peculiar. And he prophesied that the last Pope would be dark-skinned following the death of a very elderly Pope. And Pope Francis, who passed away on Sunday, was 88 years old. There's so much to this stuff, Marius. I'm not suggesting for 1 second it's true that this guy, being not a Caucasian, is now the Dark Pope. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, in the forthcoming papal conclave, where they vote for the Pope, the new Pope, and I'll quickly take people through that. It's very brief. Conclave is actually conclave, which means with a key, which means behind a locked door. So the cardinals all have a meeting. Only cardinals under the age of 80 years old are allowed to vote on the new Pope. That's to prevent senile old chaps having a say. And he must get 2/3 support. They lock themselves in. In fact, they brick them in. Sure. They brick them into some apartments. And in there is tons and tons of food and servants and waiters and toilet cleaners and you name it. And then these cardinals spend however long it takes bricked in, cemented in, until they are able to agree to the extent of 2/3, as I said, on who should be the next Pope. And the front runner is a Ghanaian from Ghana in West Africa, the westerly neighbor of Nigeria, called Peter Turkson. Now, a cardinal is basically an archbishop that's got a bit of a boost. In theory, he's not meant to be superior to a bishop, because there's nothing in the Bible that hints at, the cardinal rank or the archbishop rank. It's very much a Roman Catholic thing, and they're conscious of that. I'm not saying that makes it okay or that it's right or that I agree. I'm just saying it's not as if they're entirely ignorant of the fact that they made up their own ranks. They're aware of it. So certain bishops get elevated to this kind of almost, he's a cardinal bishop. So what the church says is, we've got 10,000 bishops around the world. We can't be consulting with 10,000 guys. Who lead. A bishop is meant to lead a region, a community. We'll have the 3 Syrian bishops always whining to us, and the Lebanese guy never shuts up. And so what we'll do is we'll make cardinals who represent the entire church, a manageable sum of priests, or a manageable number, I should say, of bishops. So it's these bishops, these cardinal bishops, who come together and they take this vote, and they've got to have the winner has to get a 2/3 majority, and they're not allowed to leave that place where they vote, those apartments, until they've agreed to the extent of 2/3. And as I say, it's interesting that the front runner is indeed a dark-skinned man, and there's a series of prophecies in the Roman Catholic Church going back. Nobody's entirely sure, because there could be a big bull dust story right in the middle of it. It goes back 800, nearly 900 years, and it's coming to an end. The middle point was, how can I say this? If there was a point in the prophecies which was meant to be the middle. So if you go from the beginning from A to B, B being the middle, and then you say, well, if C is equidistant from B as A is, where would the last year of these prophecies be? It would be 2027. Meaning that for many Roman Catholics, this Pope that gets elected now will be the last Pope. And his name is meant to be Peter. And one of the 9 leading candidates is a big chommy of the World Economic Forum, a guy called Peter Turkson from Ghana in West Africa. And I believe that there is something in it. That's something I don't believe to be good.
Yeah.
At the risk of offending all of our hundreds of thousands of Roman Catholic members. But that's just me, and I'm in the unique position that I'm entitled to that opinion, because I was brought up a Roman Catholic. So, it's not that I'm some guy from wherever, I don't know what, the Baptist church, and I'm throwing stones at the poor old Roman Catholics. I turned my back on Catholicism, whatever it was, going on for I think this year, 20 years ago. But I have some sort of sympathy. I try to be objective, and I try not to, as we say in English, throw the baby out with the bathwater. But in this instance, I'm going to put my head on the chopping block, maybe offend a few Roman Catholics, and just say, I don't think this coalescence, this samevloeiing in Afrikaans, of the Mahdi, the passing of the Pope, the intersection of Pesach and Easter, and the new Pope is a good thing. I'm not saying it's bad that the calendars intersected. I think that's probably an auspicious thing. I think it's wonderful that for once the whole of the world celebrates the Holy Passover, when the Lord revealed himself to the Israelites before he even gave them the law at Mount Sinai. It should be celebrated by everybody who believes in the living God. together. I think it's absolutely fantastic. But I do think, and not that my opinion counts for much, you may have many listeners who say, well, that's a load of rubbish. I'm not saying anybody should agree with me. I'm just endeavoring to make myself clear here. I think that it's wonderful that we all celebrated the risen Lord on the same day for a change, and the Passover for a change. But sometimes very, very, very auspicious, great occasions are occasions where, the other side also makes itself felt. And I am going to now connect all of this to something else, and that is what's happening in Ukraine and Iran. Marius, we stand on the edge of an utter catastrophe. The Russians have had about as much as they can take. They are fed up. I wished earlier in this week that the fault was mine that we didn't meet on Thursday, that we couldn't do a conversation on Thursday.
Tuesday.
Big pardon, Tuesday. But I found myself wishing from Sunday already that I could do an interview with you on Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday maybe even, because there is so much to talk about. Let it suffice to say that the Russians are fed up. They are sick and tired. They have had about as much as they can stomach. They are playing very, very nicely. They're being the very well-behaved, the best-behaved children at the birthday party. But it has become clear that they don't believe a single word that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. For numerous reasons. Number one, he contradicts himself every 15 minutes. Number two, a document has emerged from the Heritage Foundation called, I forget now, 2025, in which it's been revealed, it was written last year, that every single last thing that Donald Trump has done, apart from personal vengeance, apart from pursuing his enemies, since he took office, was prescribed by the Heritage Foundation a year ago. Nothing that he's done has been original, creative, his own thoughts, his own feelings, his own emotions, his own ideas, his own nothing. There is a plan and a plot, and the Russians believe that they can see it sticking out like a sore thumb. On top of that, you have the story in Iran. We've discussed this. The Iranis don't have a nuclear bomb. The IAEA say they don't have a nuclear bomb. And all 16 U.S. intelligence agencies said in October in a joint document that Iran doesn't have a nuclear bomb, is not trying to get a nuclear bomb. And that was reaffirmed, I didn't know this, in February under Tulsi Gabbard. She gathered them all together again and said, listen, I want to know once and for all. And they said to her, we would have picked it up. We would have picked up a satellite signature, radiation signatures by satellite. There's no way. There's no nuclear. There can't be. End of story. Clark, thanks for the tea and cake. And that was the end of the meeting. And yet, there remains this antagonism towards Iran. And I tell you, Marius, and to my way of thinking, this connects to the Mahdi. It connects to this Passover. Exactly how, I don't know. It connects to the death of the Pope and the new Pope. How, I don't know. Is it the work of the devil? Is it the work of... I don't know. Yeah. But I'm telling you that time will tell that there is something evil afoot. And almost as a footnote, I'll mention to you that Shia Islam is headquartered in Iran, and Iran is the principal party against whom Israel, who is the principal party that Israel has to incite into a war with the West in order for the Messiah to appear, to build the third temple.
Yeah.
There's a lot more involved. You and I have discussed it. very, very, very extensively. And not one word that I've said tonight, apart from where I've said, I think, I believe, is original or creative or something I've figured out 1 + 1 = 2. All I've done is regurgitate.
Yeah.
Like a cow vomiting its food out of one stomach into the back of its mouth to chew it again. I have only regurgitated verbatim things that these various people have said. I mean, the top sources in the world in Islam, in mystical Christianity and Judaism and so on. I think that we live in very, very ominous times. But as I said to you, to Arnold, your colleague there in the studio, the man who turns our words into images, provides the aesthetic to our work. This afternoon, I said, Arnold, you will not believe it. I haven't thought of the Mahdi for years and years and years and years. And just this morning, making soup in my kitchen, my thoughts wandered to the Mahdi. I wonder when the Muslims are going to say that their Oki has arrived.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the hero of Shia Islam, the hero of Persia, of Iran, has apparently or supposedly or allegedly popped his head up just at the moment that the USA is doing everything in its power to incite a war with Iran on behalf of Israel. And I say that even to those of our members, those of our listeners, those of our viewers who say that Israel is the best, Israel number one. It doesn't matter whether you're pro-Israel or anti-Israel. I have more Judaica, not proper Judaica, on my bookshelves than all of the people I know who have Judaica put together. This is not a simple case of me condemning this one, condemning that one, condemning the next one. It's a case of stating the bald-faced facts of what is cooking at the moment. And it worries me no end. And now that it seems like this Russian tour is, well, I mean, it has to be back on. I've got the passport. I've got the passport. I've got the Tom. I've got the multiple invitations.
Yeah.
From senior people there. I have to go. And I must tell you that my knees are knocking together. You guys better look after South Africa nicely while I'm away, please.
Ja, nee, ons kan nie wag dat jy gaan nie, Simon. Ek dink dit gaan 'n fantastiese toer wees. En ja, ek sê baie keer vir mense, my filosofie as dit kom by daai butterflies wat jy in jou maag het en jou, soos jy nou sê, jou knie raak so 'n bietjie lam. Ek lewe vir daai situasies, want dan voel ek soos, wow, ek is besig om uit my comfort zone te gaan, ek is besig om te groei as 'n mens, en hoe meer lewendig voel jy nie as jy daar 'n bietjie butterflies in jou maag het nie, of jy weet, jy pak nou iets niets aan, soos die eerste keer wat ons radio gedoen het, die eerste keer wat ons video begin doen het, nou ek praat nou van hierso in die ateljee in Appington, en ek hou van daai gevoel, ek hou regtig van daai gevoel, en ek hoop jy sal dit ook as 'n positiewe sien, en ons kan nie wag nie, ons is bly jou dinge is nou agter mekaar, en kom ons kyk wat gaan van dit aan, en ons sal ons bes doen om vir Suid-Afrika op te pas terwyl jy weg is.
Honestly, Marius, I've been like that my whole life long. I hitchhiked during apartheid as a white boy on a South African passport alone through Africa twice at the age of 22 and 23. Unheard of. Unheard of. And, you know, we all have things that we can brag about. But this is different.
Yeah.
If I was going to Russia under different circumstances, it would be just that. It would just be knees knocking, but in the best possible way.
Yeah.
But with the world teetering on the edge of, excuse me, I hiccuped my fizzy water. Teetering on the edge of a possible abyss. Being away from your family and your homeland might just be the stupidest thing you ever did in your whole stupid life. I'm obviously referring to myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm in two minds now, but we've got to do what we've got to do, and now we set the ball rolling, Marius, and we can start doing those interviews that I discussed with you, which I didn't want to set up. Obviously at a time when I didn't have the money, but then Mr. Miller found me a donor, and I'm eternally grateful to that man. And then, of course, I didn't want to do it once I opened my passport and realized that I'd mixed up 2 dates and that my passport would expire. And you've got to have extra length on your passport. For anybody who's never traveled to, a place or whatever, you can't go there with a day left or a month left. They very often demand that you have 6 months left in your passport from the day that you return home, not the day that you go there, the day that your flight is booked to bring you home. So anyway, I'm messed up, and as I say, today is finally that point in time when we can say it's all systems go. Yeah, that's about it from me, Marius. Thank you very much.
Dankie vir jou ook weer eens, Simon. Dit was baie insiggewend, veral vir my vanaand, om te hoor oor hierdie ouens in die Mahdi in die Pope en alles. Dit is ek hou baie daarvan. Ek het weer eens baie geleer, en dan gesels ek en jy weer miskien Dinsdag of in volgende week. In volgende week gesels ons weer definitief mekaar. So lekker aand vir jou, Simon, en goed gaan.
Thank you, Marius. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Dit is natuurlik Simon Roche, die hoof van buitelands van die Suidlanders, en hy het sy paspoort gekry. Lyk my die oudste reëlings gaan nou in plek val, sodat hy vir Rusland kan gaan besoek. Die ou wat gesê het, hy is hierdie Mahdi, ek weet nie of ek dit reg uitspreek nie, sy naam is Abdullah Hashem Sadiq, of anderster bekend as Abdullah Hashem. Ons sal die naam bysit, en ons sal dalk 'n link van daai video waarvan ons in ons eie video nou gaan gepraat het, wat hierdie ou sê, wel, hy is die volgende ou. Alle Christene, alle Moslems, alle Jode, alle mense gaan vir hom moet luister. Hy is nou die nuwe, amper wil ek sê, stem van God hier op aarde. Ons kan daai videoetjie dalk ook byvoeg. Ek hoop jy die video geniet, en dan ook 'n lekker aand, lekker kuier. Voor ek vergeet, onthou om ons te like, 'n comment op te sit, share die video met mense wat jy dink dit gaan interessant vind, en so voorts. Dit help natuurlik vir ons algoritme van hierdie video's. Baie dankie daarvoor, en 'n lekker dag of lekker aand verder. Totsiens.